May 23, 1995. Jack Rozmaryn. Interviewer Rhoda Dome Kenner. Cities Forest Hills, New York, country USA, and it will be in English.
I'm Rhoda Dome Kenner, and I'm interviewing Jack Rozmaryn today, a survivor who lives in Forest Hills, New York, in America, and this interview is being conducted in English. Today is May 23rd, 1995.
Would you please spell your name?
And my name is Rhoda, R-H-O-D-A, Daum, D-A-U-M, hyphen, K-E-N-N-E-R. Mr. Rozmaryn, I'm very pleased to be able to do this interview with you today for the Shoah Foundation. And I wonder if you would start, please, by telling us your full name that you were given at birth.
My full name is Jack, J-A-C-K. The last name is Rozmaryn, R-O-Z-M-A-R-Y-N. I was born January 7, 1913, in Będzin, Poland.
Can you spell Będzin for us, please?
B-E-N-D-Z-I-N.
B-E-N-D...
D-Z-I-N. In German they call it Bensburg, B-N-D-S-B-U-R-G.
And were you born in a small town, a big city? Can you describe what Będzin was like?
I would say it's a town with a population of 28,000 Jewish people and maybe 2,000 or 3,000 Gentile people.
And can you tell us what your life was like? How many members of your family lived in the house with you?
Yeah, we are 10 children, 6 brothers and 4 sisters.
And where were you in the family?
I was the 6th in the family.
The 6th in the family. Can you tell us, please, your parents' names?
My father's name was Mordechai, M-O-R-D-C-H-A-I, and my mother's name was Perla Gitler, P-E-R-L-A-G-I-T-L-A, and her maiden name was Gitler, G-I-T-L-E-R.
Did anyone else live in the house with you, in addition to your siblings and your parents?
When I do remember, 4 children were married already and 6 were single.
And did the married children live with you, or did they have their own home?
No, they have their own. They lived separate.
Can you tell us what your life was like before the war?
Now, before the war, for example, as I mentioned, my birthday, I started to go to a school when I was 6 years old. This was a school which was a biblical school, like Talmud and so, and in the afternoon they gave us like Polish and grammar and so the other subjects.
Like a bicultural school?
Yes.
And how did you get to the school? Was it close to your house?
It was only a walking distance, yes. It was on the same street where we used to live.
Did other members of your family go to the same school with you?
Yes. All my older brothers went to the same school.
Was it just for boys or boys and girls?
It was only for boys.
Only for boys. What about the girls? What did your sisters do?
The girls, they went to the public school, like the heavy public school, and then they went to business schools, and they went to gymnasiums, but I believe it was only first or second class because they were broke out.
Can you
talking about the children which are younger than I am.
Yes. Can you describe for us what your family life was like? Were you a religious family, an observant family?
We were a very observant family, very Orthodox people. My parents were Orthodox Jewish people.
And did you go to shul often?
We went not to a shul. We used to have, as they call it, a shtibel, because there was a lot of rabbis in Poland, which each rabbi, they have his hasidim, a separate shtibel. So my parents went to a shtibel. They call it the Radomske shtibel.
Do you remember the name of the rabbi?
The rabbi's name, yes, was the rabbi's name is hanging down inside the hall, a photo of the rabbi.
Do you remember his name?
Yes, Shlomo Chanoch Rabinovich, R-A-B-O-N-O-W-I-T-Z.
And how often did you go with your family to shul, to the shtibel?
To the shtibel, during the week we didn't go. We go only Friday afternoon and Saturday morning.
And what was it like in your house in celebration of the holidays? Can you remember? Can you describe for us?
Very religious. We went to the Stiebel, and it was very, very orthodox.
You had a kosher butcher in town?
Butcher. No, it's 28,000 Jewish people. There was a lot of kosher butchers, and there was a rabbi and people which they're working with the rabbi together. I mean, when they got some questions, I mean, or let's say divorces or so, or marriage, they went to this rabbi.
Were you aware that you were Jewish, that there might be problems? Was there any anti-Semitism at all that you can remember when you were growing up?
No, this I remember all my life, even in Poland, even before the war. For example, there was a story then the president of Poland was killed, and they accused a Jewish fellow with his name Steiger.
How old were you at that time? Do you remember?
I'd say about 8, 9 years old.
And you remember that?
I remember, sure. There was, I mean, after years, I mean, finally they freed him and they found out somebody else killed him.
Can you tell us what that was like for you as a Jewish child?
Well, we were used, in Poland, we were used, I mean, to be guarded by Polish, or should I say Christian people all the time.
Can you remember any particular incident that you could describe for us when you were growing up?
No, by myself specific, I cannot say something, but what I know, I mean, the tendency was always anti-Semitic until 1947 or 8, they start to take lessons from Hitler's time, from Germany, and they start to boycott Jewish stores. Let's say, for example, they put in people with signs before Jewish store, this is a Jewish store, don't go in. Who goes in, he is an enemy of Poland, and they didn't let in Jewish people. For example, they cut furs from Jewish ladies when they walk in the streets, and they hit. And there was numerous clauses in the universities in Poland. The Jewish people could only stand while at the time of the lessons. They didn't let them sit on the benches like the class.
Do you remember what year that was?
This was in the 37, 38, 39, till the war broke out.
At the very beginning. All right, now let's go back a little if we can, please. What did your father do to support this family?
My father owned a textile store in Belgium.
And what kind of things did he sell in that store?
Like the materials for dresses, for coats and so forth.
And did your mother work in the store with him?
Yes.
And do you remember what it was like for you as a child? Did you help in the store? Did you?
No.
You did not.
No.
Were you involved in any kind of activities, group activities with other Jewish young children, other clubs at all?
No, not at all.
So your life was, could you describe what a typical day was like for you?
When I finished this school, as I mentioned, then I took accounting lessons and became an accountant, and was working in a bank for 2 years in Poland before the war.
How old were you then?
Oh, I would say by 19 till 21, and then I worked in a big town. In a big town near Belgium, the name was Katowice. This belongs before the First World War to Germany, and then after the First World War, it belongs to Poland.
Was it a problem for you to get a job as a Jew in a bank?
No, it was a Jewish bank.
Jewish bank.
It's a Jewish bank. I couldn't get a job in a Polish bank.
Now, where did you go to school to study to become an accountant?
This is a private teaching.
Again, you were in school with only Jewish children?
Yes.
And did you play only with Jewish friends?
Yes.
And you knew that you were a Jew?
Absolutely.
There was a consciousness?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us, if you can, what you remember about changes taking place when you realized that something was happening? Did you know what was going on in Germany?
Absolutely. Yes.
Can you describe for us how
yes,
you became aware?
We read Jewish papers. We knew everything what goes on in Germany, what goes all over the world. We got Jewish papers, the Hind, the Moment, several Jewish papers, maybe by 10. We got local Jewish papers. We got the Jewish papers from the capital of Poland, Jewish papers. And we got the Jewish libraries, we got the Jewish books, and we got Jewish, even I did not belong to a specific organizations, but let's say with something, when Jabotinsky, you know the name Jabotinsky,
Yes, I do.
came to Benjamin, and so we went to listen to what he got to say when other people's Bovel or Greenbaum or whatever, they were a youth, very intelligent youth in our town.
Did you ever think, or anyone in your family ever think of leaving Poland because you felt there might be a threat?
No, because this was only a dream. This was impossible. First of all, nobody wants to leave the family, and there was no reason. There was families, sisters and brothers in big families, and there was no reason to leave Poland. And then, if you want to go at that time to Israel, at the time that I remember, you must be rich to have for each person 1,000 English pounds to show. Then probably they will give you a certificate. But it was not so easy, to say, to immigrate. Most people who immigrated was for reasons. Or they are saying in Poland, if they didn't want to sit in jail or to go to the army, they ran away.
Now,
But
what
no,
about...
there was no immigration from Poland.
Now, what about, you had older siblings, you said they were even married.
Yes.
Were any of them concerned about having to serve in the army, and did
No.
any of them think of leaving?
No.
You said earlier that you remember the time in 37 or 38 when signs started to appear in stores, do not shop here, and
Yes, absolutely.
there were problems on the street.
I work in such a company.
Can you describe what that was like, please?
No, so as I told you, when I worked 2 years in the bank, after the bank I got a job in Katowice as an accountant. And it was a big firm. The name of the firm was Max Borinski, Borinski. It was whoever lives in Katowice knows this firm. So let's say in the end, between July 1938 till December 38, so there were always signs, Polish people with signs, before the entrance door, not to let in Polish people. This is a Jewish store. Don't buy. Don't help them. Don't let them go to Israel and so forth. This was, and then we sold the store. Let's say in September '38 for a cheap price to a Catholic. He took over the store, and then after 3 months they all broke out. They all broke out in September 1st, 1939, after, let's say, 6 months or so.
Do you remember the sale of the store?
Absolutely, because I was the accountant in the store. So
Tell us what that was like, that they sold it for much less than it was worth. How did that happen?
you see, because if we took inventory at that time, there was, let's say, for 800,000 zlotys, we sold it for 250, only to get rid of it.
And then what happened?
And then he took it over, and I still got a small office, to liquidate the store. And this it took, let's say, till the first day of the war. And then what happened?
Can you remember what happened when the war broke out?
Yes, I was supposed to go to work in the morning, September 1st, and we opened the radio, we heard the war broke out. I couldn't go anymore to Katowice, and that's it. And I never saw the store, and I never saw nothing.
And you were living at home?
I was living in Benjamin with my parents.
And how old were you that day?
39, 26.
26 years old. And you were still unmarried?
Unmarried.
And what about the rest of the family? What happened when the war broke out?
So, fortunately, we were 6 at home. And my younger brother was organizing a small factory of leather goods, like suitcases and wallets and briefcases. And I started to help him out, and then we liquidate the store, the textile store, and we make a living only from the factory of suitcases and this.
And who did you sell to?
We sell it to German people.
German people?
Yes.
And they bought from you?
They bought from me, yes. They bought about, for example, after a year, the German government put in so to call a Treuhänder. They confiscated this a German, this belongs to the German government, and then they put in a German to watch it and to do the business, but we start to work as employees. And I got, let's say, my salary. They kept me because I knew the business from A to Z. So my salary was, let's say, I could buy on the black market a pack of cigarettes from the salary that I got. But because I knew the business very well, so I worked with the German, with the person they put in. We sold on black market suitcases and so forth, and we split and we lived from that.
Was it relatively comfortable? Were you afraid for your life?
Absolutely. I will tell you a story that I was arrested once, and it's a funny story to it, that when I was arrested because when they confiscated the firm, and one...
This is in Kotlowitz?
This was in Belgium.
In Belgium.
In Belgium. And I was, when they confiscated the factory, so one German, very big company, concern, they were very much interested to get suitcases because they need suitcases for the soldiers and so forth. They were very short in the suitcases in Germany. So he proposed me that I should give him a bill, a predated bill, for that I sold him 3 months ago before it was confiscated, and he paid for it, that I am obliged to deliver it. And I agreed to it, and he gave me the money. And then when I supposed to send him in between, and I got the German who was watching it, so I went to the head of this office, of this confiscating office, and I told him the story that I have bills from this and this factory which I have to deliver, and they knew each other. The head of this office and the German businessman, they were friends, so he gave me the order to send it, and I told him he should give it to me in writing. So I said, I'm private in the house, but my word, it's enough. So I sent it, and then the Gestapo caught me sending out merchandise which was confiscated already for the German government. So I told them that I got the permission from this Mr. Petzold was his name. So I wasn't prepared that I will tell you this story, but nevertheless, they arrested me. And
they being the Gestapo?
The Gestapo arrested me. This was on a Friday evening. And they hauled me in jail from 7 o'clock till 11. 11 o'clock, they took me for a hearing. And I told them, I did it because the chief told me that I should do it. So they called up at 11 o'clock to verify it, and he said, yes, I gave the order, so they let me free. So I went home. But a fellow in the same office, in the German office, was not happy with the story, and he put in a criminal claim against us. And I got a court for 3 years with the Gestapo, which is a story unbelievable. They took 5,000 Jewish people and sent them without questions to be killed. And with me, they got court hearings for every month in 3 years. And finally, I won the case against the Gestapo.
You mean, now, explain what that was like. You said every month for 3 years you had
Every
to go
month
to
there was
court?
a hearing. You see, with the hearing there was, for example, I took a lawyer from Germany, from Beuthen. This is a German town, which was a Jewish lawyer, which is only permitted to represent Jewish people. And he came to court with all his medals from the First World War. And he came to this to protect us, myself and my younger brother. And George decided to send to take for a deposition or for a hearing the chief of the police who released me at that time. So he was already on the front, so they sent the papers to the front, it came back, he is killed. So they sent for the men who gave me the permission. So anyway, 7 German people were involved in this case. And they sent 7 times to the front. And they came back that all 7 were killed. And then finally the judge released us. And then 5 days later there was Judenrein, and I went to Auschwitz, to Birkenau with all Jewish people. But nevertheless, I got a pending case with the Gestapo for 3 years, and I won the case.
From when to when?
Oh, let's say this was from 41, from the beginning 41 to August to July 43.
That it was pending.
Pending.
All right, now tell us what happened when you said Judenrein, when
Judenrein was so, for example, Benjamin, as I mentioned before, was 28,000 Jewish people, but they start to take Jewish people to kill them to Auschwitz.
What do you remember? Do you remember the first time someone was taken?
It started in 41, I would say, in the middle of 41. So they took, let's say, 3,000, and then 2,000, and then 5,000. And then at the last time, when I mentioned the Judenrein, that means the town clean of Jews, it was maybe 11,000, still 11,000 Jewish people, which they took them between August 1st, 1943, till August 10th. Day and night, until they made engine without Jews.
And what about your family? When was your family taken?
My whole family was taken in 1943, from the 1st of August till the 8th of August.
And how did you experience that?
You see, when the day took us, this started so. I used to have permission from the German police to walk on the Aryan streets, on the streets where Jews are not allowed to go because of our factory, and we worked for the German government. So sometimes I have to go to buy some material or whatever. So I got the permission. There was 300 people working in the factory. So I got permission to work on the German street. On Saturday, July the 31st, 1943, when I left the factory, so I went through a street which was not permitted in general for Jewish people. So across the street, so a German officer noticed me and called me over. So when I went over, so I asked him why I'm working on the not in the ghetto street. So I took out and I showed him, so he took it away from me. I was thinking that something will go on because. And when I came to the police, to the German police, and to tell them that they took away my permit and so on, one policeman told me, what's the difference if you have it or you don't have it? It will be so-and-so.
What did he say?
It will so-and-so, end of the Jewish people.
He said that to you?
He said. So when I came home, I told my brothers and my sisters, so everybody, we got some bunkers, You know what a bunker is? Hiding places.
Oh, a bunker.
A bunker. You say, for example, we went into an oven.
In your own house?
In the house, and you got an opening to another room and closed up. Everybody got a different way of bunkers,
And you had that prepared?
Yes, we knew because we only the last 10,000 Jewish people. 28 was already sent away. We knew where because Auschwitz was only 36 kilometers from Benjamin. Birkenau was only 36 kilometers from Benjamin.
What did you know about Auschwitz?
I specifically know what goes on.
How did you know?
I used to work with a Christian fellow, which he was in Auschwitz for 9 months, and they released him. And he told me, only not to mention all around that what goes on in Auschwitz, so we knew what goes on.
What did he tell you?
He told me that they're killing Jewish people in Auschwitz.
Did he tell you how?
No, I wouldn't say no, specifically no, because how there was different ways after being in Auschwitz.
But did you believe what he told you?
Yes.
And did you share that with your family?
Yes. But we knew that is what our end will be. We expected. I mean, there was no question about it.
And how did you prepare yourself? Just with the bunkers?
How else could you prepare yourself? If France or Belgium or Holland or England couldn't prepare themselves, how the poor Jewish people in the ghetto could prepare themselves?
Did you store food?
Yes, we put in food and water and so. But this is only funny stories. I mean, this is what's good.
Can you describe...
You could survive there for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks or so, but that's the top. But they knew about the bunkers. For example, in August 1st, 1943, I was in a bunker.
Now, can you tell us what that was like?
I was with a bunker. We went through a open door.
Where?
By a friend of ours, not in our bunker. I with Mrs. Rozmaryn went to my sister, which she was living with another family, and they got a bunker. And we were there by 12 o'clock. In 12 o'clock, we heard already shots.
12 at night?
12 at night, 12 between the 31st of July till August the 1st, the night of 31st to August the 1st. So my brother was outside the small house where we were there, and he came in. He said that he noticed German soldiers walking around not too far away, so we knew what's what. We went into the bunker. By 7 o'clock, they find out our bunker, the Germans, and they put in fire and paper, and they threw it to the hall. So they heard the noise, and then they started to yell, "Raus, raus," and we went out, and then they took us to the train.
How did they take you?
Oh, they took us with soldiers. Let's say that they got together from each house a few people. Then we were, let's say, a bigger group of people. They took us to the station, and we were waiting at the station until they put us in the wagons. So we were the first from the family, I would say.
The first who went to Auschwitz?
Yes, then my parents were hidden in another bunker, and my sisters, all of them in separate bunkers, but they took all of them.
And you met all of your family again at Auschwitz?
No, I never saw my father, my parents, never ever. I saw, what I saw from the whole family, I met my wife's father, which was my brother. They let him into Auschwitz to the Arbeits, not to the ovens, only to work. So I got, let's say, a few from the family I met in Birkenau while they let me go through. For example, we came to Auschwitz, Mengele assorted us, so young people like myself and with 300 other boys to the transport of 3,000 Jewish people in our transport. So they let down 300 boys and 300 girls to walk in Birkenau in the camp, and the 2,400 they took on trucks walking to the gas chambers.
And which of your family went to the gas chambers?
And when we came, I didn't see nobody at that time, because, as I mentioned to you, myself and Mrs. Rozmaryn, they took us the first. Then, for example, the other members of the family, they took out 2 hours later with other trains, with other transports, so you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do.
For example, my parents came on Tuesday. I know from other people, they came on Tuesday morning. As I mentioned to you, the liquidation took them 10 days, from the 1st of August till the 10th of August, but some of them went on Monday, some on Tuesday. Some of them trains, they went direct, all of them to Birkenau without selections, all of them to the gas chambers, regardless, even young people, they're supposed to be able to walk.
We'll continue this in just 1 minute, please.
It's okay.
Rozmaryn on May 23rd, 1995. Mr. Rozmaryn, if we could go back just for 1 minute. You lived in a house with your family, but could you talk about the transition from the relative freedom that you had before the Germans occupied Poland? Was there a ghetto? Did you have to move from your home? Did other people have to move in with you? Can you go back a minute and talk about that, please?
We used to live in let's say, in a 5-room apartment. The house, I gave you a photo of the house where we used to live. Let's say in 41 or so, they forced us to move out from this apartment, to move to another small apartment which was given by us by the Jewish committee. They organized a Jewish committee, like how should I describe it? They took a few people from the top, non-Jewish people, and they organized a committee, and they gave them all the orders what they want to
Leaders
do.
of the Jewish community.
So they then, if they threw us out from the apartment, the previous apartment, the Jewish committee advised us to another small apartment in another small street in town. And so not us only, let's say, if they want to make one street without Jews, so they took all the Jews from this street, and the Jewish committee gave them in another street, let's say, a little bit out of town, and so they moved us, let's say, from 41 till they took us to Auschwitz. They moved us several times until, let's say, in the end of 41, they created a ghetto already only for Jewish people. And then this was, let's say, for a year they hauled the ghetto in this place, and then they created a smaller ghetto in another place.
The same number of people, but in
No,
smaller...
because they got, let's say, for example, they got already 10,000 people sent away, so they got a smaller Jewish population, and they made it in a very small place. They should be concentrated even more. The Germans should be able to control whatever they want to do. They should have them do together, so they got a bigger ghetto and then a smaller ghetto, and then until they took out all the people.
Now, what was it like when you moved? Were you able to take your own furniture and your own furnishings with you?
In the first place, you were able to do it because they gave you, let's say, instead of 5 rooms, they gave you 2.5 rooms. But so you left what you believe you cannot take with you, and so from one move to another, you left a part of the furniture, a part of everything, until I took out everything what you can put into one room. And then you remain in one room, only with a bed.
How many of you moved from the first move to the last move? How many were still living at home with the family?
All of us. And the reason I will tell you what, because as I told you, we used to have a big factory, and we worked for the German government, for German factory, and we got money which they knew, the Jewish committee knew that we making business with the Germans, that we split the money, and they need money, so we participate a lot in the financial situation of the committee, so they didn't touch us.
Now, when you moved in the beginning,
but then until Judenrein, because from time to time, for example, if they caught some of our family, they brought in 1942. They brought from Romanian Germans which they used to live in Romania. They took them to Germany, and they gave them Jewish factories. And they gave to one Romanian, his name was Shirley, Schgerle, they gave him our factory. He was the owner. Instead of being controlled under the German government, they gave them as his own factory. And when they took, let's say, people which we need them in the factory, they used to get them out from the Gestapo. When they grabbed in the middle of the night Jewish people to send them away, if there was a lot from our factory, he was able to get them out, a few of them, all the times.
Like Schindler.
Yes. Yeah, he took them out because when they organized an office for people, for workers, not Germans, so the chief of them was one of the fellows with they brought from Romanian. So the owner of our factory and this, they were friends, so he was able to take out. At the last time, there was bad that if they gave them out 2-3 people, he must replace with other 2 people, minor, important workers.
And when they made it Judenrein?
When made it Judenrein was regardless.
Finished.
It was, you see, when the story was this, as I would say, the owner of our factory knew what goes on. He knew what goes on in Auschwitz because a friend of his was a military man in Auschwitz, and he told him all the stories.
And did he tell? How do you know that he knew?
I will tell you why he knew, because when it's supposed to be Judenrein, so he went away from Benjamin for 10 days. He didn't want to be present. And he was not present, you know. He
left town.
He left town because he didn't want to participate. And he spoke Jewish like I and you, even he was a German in Romania, because probably he dealt a lot with Jewish people in Romania. But I knew, as I told you before, from somebody that he was in Auschwitz.
And so when your whole family was taken separately, you were with one group? Because you went with your...
I went only with my wife and my younger brother and my sister.
But was she your wife then?
I was engaged. As I told you, I was engaged officially, legally, and we took out marriage license after I showed it to you, only for the purpose that if she is married, they let her for a while not to grab her to work, to send her to concentration camps.
Did you have any intention of marrying?
Yes, we were legal.
Oh, you were?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yes,
yes. So you were planning to marry?
Yes, absolutely.
But you did this more quickly to protect her?
Quickly because we didn't. Marriage in Jewish people means to go to a rabbi and get married. We didn't went to a rabbi to get married. We didn't. We got married officially, legally, as Jews after the war. But
all right,
we
now,
were officially engaged to get married.
All right, now let's go back to when they separated. They took 300 Jewish boys, 300 Jewish girls, you said.
Si.
And now, was your wife, and your future wife, was included?
She was included between the girls, and my two sisters, younger sisters, and I with my younger brother were between the 300 young fellows to go to the men's concentration camp in Birkenau.
All right, so let's start there, if we can, in Birkenau. What happened to you that day when you were separated with your younger brother and you saw...
No, my younger brother was with me.
Yes, no, I'm saying you and your younger brother were together, and the female members of the family were with the girls. Can you tell us what happened then?
So when they took them to the women's camp, there was a separate concentration camp in Birkenau for women, there was a separate concentration camp for men. I went to the concentration camp for men. So we were there for 3 weeks as a quarantine. We didn't do nothing, only lying in the first 2-3 days without any food at all.
Did you have any belongings with you?
Yes. I mean, as I'm dressed now, I got money, I got a watch, I got everything. So when we came to Auschwitz, to Birkenau, they took us to a barrack, to a big barrack, and they told us to undress ourselves. We undressed ourselves, and they said to put everything together, like if we will go out, we will get the same clothing. But this was only to fool us. Then they took us to a barrack, and we were sure that the barrack will be, let's say, they will give us gas right away.
You expected that?
We expected this, yes.
The other people as well?
Absolutely.
So that everybody really knew what was going on?
Everybody was prepared that he's going to be killed. And when they took us, let's say they gave us a shower like Piran, only a few drops from the ceiling, and then they let us out through another door. And the other door, they gave us other clothing.
What kind of clothing?
The kind of clothing. I got a lady's underwear. It's not a joke.
I'm sorry.
Ladies' underwear. I got a lady's jacket, and then they cut off our hair.
When you say cut off, they shaved it?
They shaved everything, and then I didn't recognize my brother 10 minutes later. So he was dressed like I don't know how to explain to you. Or he didn't recognize me, and then they took us to a barrack, and we're lying in a barrack. Let's say there was preachers. Let's say seven. So let's say 1,000 people in one barrack. 1,000 people in one barrack. There was one oven which started this way, in the beginning of the barrack till the end. A built oven.
What was the oven for?
No, for the winter time. It was an oven.
To heat the building?
Yes, a built one, a brick one, from one part of the barrack to the other one. And then, for example, if you want to listen, the first time I went over there was the Schreiber, they call it, the one which notice only who's there, how many people he has, and so forth. And when I went over to him, this was the first hour in Birkenau, when I went over and asked him maybe he needs some help in accounting on this, that I'm written it. He called over an assessment, and he told him he wants to be a Schreiber. They took my head and they put it in the opening from the oven, and they put down my pens, and they gave me 25. This was the rating, 25 hits on my behind. This was the first day, the first hour in Auschwitz.
With what did they hit you?
Oh, with what they hit me, he had hit me not so hard, if not I would survive, with a stick from a shovel. So then they took us onto the preachers, 7 on each one, and for the first 3 days they did without any food at all. After 3 days they started to give us, let's say there was a bread. The bread was not from flour, only from if you take woods and if you cut woods.
Shavings, wood shavings?
Wood shaving was the bread. And they gave us a quarter of such a bread for 24 hours.
1/4 of a slice?
1/4
of
this
bread?
This was, let's say, I would say 350 grams, 35 decos.
With anything else?
This is with anything else, the first days. Then they gave us, during the day, a soup from water and leaves. There was nothing inside. This was for 24 hours. Then a few days later, they started to give us the same portion of bread day after day for the whole time in Auschwitz. This was the ration. This was what you got. Sometimes they gave you a piece of salami made from blood. Or sometimes they gave us a piece of margarine to the bread. Sometimes they gave us a piece of cheese. And in the morning they gave you, I call you coffee, that will be a sin for the coffee. Some black water, I don't know what it was. This was 5 o'clock in the morning when they woke us up.
All right, now go back to the first few days where you said you got no food at all, and there
First
were
3 days, no.
about 1,000 people in this.
In one barrack.
In one barrack.
1,000. There was, let's say in each barrack was 100,000 people.
Yes, and how many? How did you sleep in this barrack?
As I told you, we had 3 wooden beds, preachers, 7 in each.
Seven people in each.
7 each.
7 people in each layer.
7 above, and then above another 7.
So it was 3 layers.
3 layers.
Okay, like a double-decker, but it was a triple.
Yeah, there was
7 in each.
Yeah, there was 7.
Okay. Did you ever change the women's clothes for men's clothing?
No.
You stayed with the clothes?
Yes.
Did you ever receive more clothing?
From time to time, after 6 months, they changed something or so.
What about shoes?
Shoes, I got a pair of shoes. We got a pair of wooden shoes, like they use it in Holland, I believe.
Clogs?
Yes.
And were you able to exchange among you for the right sizes?
No. Sometimes I got one only. I walked with one and one, only with one.
And what happened afterwards? How long did you stay in doing nothing?
After 3 weeks, if you are talking about myself, after 3 weeks they came, the chief of the SS came, and he was looking for shoemakers. They want to make a shoemaker place and a tailor place. He was looking for shoemakers. And this was only the 1,000 people that I mentioned to you in our town was only people from our town, which we knew each other. I would say a little bit I was suspected, I don't know, maybe. So when they looked for 50 shoemakers, I said to myself and to my brother, we will not survive so-and-so. Let's go with the shoemakers and see what happened. So I went with the 48 other shoemakers as a shoemaker, but nobody said no between the shoemakers. The commandant from Auschwitz, his name was Hess at that time. He was, God alone was the most so big like him. I mean, everybody was standing a half a mile further from him. I mean, they yelled. And he asked me specifically if he will give me lead if I will be able to make him a pair of shoes. And I am perfect in German, so I told him yes, and fine. So he put me between the shoemakers. Then he said he needs, to the oldest of the block, he said he needs people for the office, 2 or 3 people. When I heard this, I went over that I am good in it. I took the liberty and the power to go out. This you will not understand.
You were not afraid after they beat you the first time?
That's what I said. I mean, because what's the difference? I was sure, I will kill me, he will not kill me. What's the difference? I went over and I told him I'm good. So he told me, I told him, but he told me, a minute ago you were a shoemaker. So I said, but still I'm good in it. So he put me away to be a schreiber, to go with you for 50 people, to go to another camp, which the camps was A, B, C, D, E, F. In between each one was electric wires, you know.
But still Birkenau.
Birkenau.
And what about your brother?
So my brother was between the shoemakers, and I supposed to be the schreiber. Then they sent us over the same day to another camp.
When you say us, all the schreibers?
50 people, no, the 50 people, the schreibers, 50 tailors, and 2 schreibers, me and myself and somebody else. So when we came over there, supposed to put me into the Schreibstube as a schreiber.
What is a Schreibstube?
The Schreibstube is the office. This is in German, the office. When I supposed to go to the office, so some people found friends there in the other camp, which they knew from before, and they let me. They forgot about what the commandant picked out. They put in somebody else, and into the office. And I was walking outside some walk.
So you were not in the office?
No. This was the first month. But the fellow who used to walk from the office, they used to walk this way. Every morning, they got, let's say, 300 shoemakers and 300 tailors. He mastered the job of the man in the office was every day in the morning to go from block to block and check, for example, the shoemakers and the tailors, they were sleeping in different blocks, not in the same block. Some of them died in the middle of the night, or some of them were taken away to the hospital, to the so-called hospital. So his job was to check in the morning between the 600 how many is missing, how many died, how many went to the hospital, that we have only instead 600 shoemakers and tailors. We got on, let's say, 582. 18 died in the night. So he must report to the main office, to the SS office, that the shoemakers, after as of today, have only 582. And then they figure out all the inmates, and they should be the amount inmates according whatever they got. So there was one between the shoemakers which got the possibility. When we went into work, we couldn't go out anymore. We could go out only 10 minutes after 12, all together to the toilets. But besides, there was a man which was at the door of the entrance to the shoemaker or the tailor's office. He didn't let nobody out. But one fellow, which was, I don't know, a friend of the couple, if you so call it, he got the permission to go in and out. So this fellow decided to run away from Auschwitz. So he took out, we got here a piece of material with the IL, that means in lager. Those people can walk only in lager. They are not permitted to go outside because we were from the neighborhood, so we know the ways to run away.
Had you all received your numbers by then? Tattoo?
The tattoo we got the first day.
First day. What was your number?
132382, if I'm correct.
You still have it?
Sure.
And so he had
besides the numbers,
an
whatever got
insignia,
on his arm, we got all the like the yellow yellow star, we got below the yellow star, we got a sign IL.
Sewn on?
Sewn on. The IL meant Imlage, that we may walk only inside the electric wires. So this fellow, as I mentioned to you, which got the permission to go out from the from the shoemaker out to the Lage Straits, the man in the office, which they put in instead myself, he reported the amount, including him, because he figured that he is out, that he walks around. And then they found out that the total amount doesn't count, one is missing. Finally, they find this fella outside the electric wires, going with another group of people walking outside, and he ran away. And they caught him, and they brought him, they shot him, and they brought him, they put him 2 shovels on the arms, and he was standing, I'm back again. He was dead, but to show the people, to scare the people not to do it.
Where did they put him?
Oh, they put him, let's say, in the street of in Auschwitz, in Birkenau, between the blocks, you know, all the people should see it, what happened to him. But because of this, they threw out the fellow from the office for false reporting. They hit him till death, or I don't know what, and then they started to yell, they need a Schreiber, so the whole block yelled Rozmaryn because they knew me. I didn't want to go. I ran in that table, but nevertheless, they took him to the Auschwitz. This was a month after I came to Birkenau. And when I say Auschwitz, I always mean Birkenau.
I understand.
Because Auschwitz was a separate camp. But when I'm talking Auschwitz, I mean Auschwitz-Birkenau. So then I started walking the office, and so I walked till they sent me away from Auschwitz when the Russians needed.
Now tell us what it was like. Did you stay in the same barrack?
No, the barracks they changed from time to time, but in the office I stayed.
Now,
because we slept in barracks, but walked in the office where the shoemaker was, where the shoemakers were working during the day, or the tailors during the day. They got a small little office for 3 people, and I was working in this office.
So there were just 3 of you?
3 of us.
3 of you. Now, what about your brother? Did he?
My brother remained as a shoemaker.
And how old was your brother at this time?
My brother was 4 years younger than I am.
And so you stayed there?
I was in the office, and my brother was sitting, let's say, with shoemakers, and because he was never a shoemaker, but when they gave us, for example, they brought 10,000 pair of shoes from killed people. So they took, let's say, 3,500 they sent to Germany, which they were new shoes, but all the shoes they bought for repair to the shoemaker, how you call it. From the 6,000 what they brought, they dismantled, let's say, 1,000, and to have stuff to repair the other ones. So my brother's job was only to rip off shoes to prepare for the other. They knew they helped them, the people which were real shoemakers. They helped them. For example, if they made, let's say, 25 pair of shoes each, so they split, they put in 21, they put in the report for him.
So people helped each other?
Absolutely.
Now, what was it like for you going to work every morning as a Schreiber? What did you do?
As I told you, when I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, the appel for all the people to get up was 5 o'clock. So 4 o'clock, I went from block to block. I got, let's say, a list of the shoemakers, let's say.
You got up at 4. They woke you?
No. If I wouldn't wake up, I would be dead. So I went from block to block. So I knew, let's say in this block is 3 tailors or 15 shoemakers. So I checked with the office of this block. If all of them are here, he showed me the list, what numbers he sent to the died, what numbers he sent to the hospital. I checked with my list. I took them off. And so I went on all the blocks, and then I came to a conclusion after I visited all the blocks, how many will not appear today. So when I gave over the report to the SS, that I am the shoemaker, and there's only 512 or 570.
And you did that every day?
Every day.
Now,
and then I went to, then the other the other people went outside Birkenau. And then I went to wash myself and then to shave myself, and then I went to the office.
You were able to do that every day?
Yes.
To wash yourself
Yes.
and shave yourself?
Yes.
And what about food?
Food, I got the same food as everybody. There was no difference in food between where you work or what you did, or you're Jewish, or you're Catholic, or you're whatever, or you're gypsy. The ration was the same, without a difference.
And now where did you eat?
In the block.
In the block?
In the
Was
block.
there
Or let's say I had
a kitchen? Was there a place?
No, what do you mean kitchen? On the fridge. I used to sleep.
The food was brought to you there?
Yes, let's say everybody was in his place, the sleeping place, and they went from bunk to bunk, and they gave each his portion. That's the place.
And then you went to your office?
Then I went to my office, or I ate everything in one time, so I waited until 24 hours later, or I put in a slice for tomorrow, or later, whatever.
You only were fed once a day?
What?
Once a day you were fed?
Yeah, no, twice a day.
Twice
a day, but the soup and the portion of bread was every evening, let's say, after the appel, after all people returned, and after they count all the people, if this is the amount is okay, then they let everybody go to each block.
Now, what was your work day like? Because the morning you were busy counting to see who was going to report.
Then our job was, say, for example, if we got 20,000 pair of shoes a week, or to find out from the shoemakers how many shoes they repaired, how many they sent back to the SS as good ones, how many they sent back for the inmates to change this, and how many they used after, let's say, to prepare them, how many suits they fixed, and how many instead sacks they made from material, Schuhlappen they call it, only like a sack, but only from material. How many they made, and this was my job.
Did anyone supervise your work?
Yes.
Who?
A fellow, he was still alive. His name was Siegel. He was the head of the office.
A Jewish person?
Jewish.
But other than that, there were no Germans who supervised you?
No, there was a head of the SS, which was under his jurisdiction. He came from time to time every
to check.
Basically check what goes on.
And did you have at this time any contact at all with any members of your family? Did you know what had happened to anyone?
Yes, in the beginning, let's say the first few days, there came some cousins, or one brother, my wife's father came, or my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister, which they took between the girls to the camp. Or then they send away transports from Birkenau to other places like the IG Farm in the street, like like General Electric. There was big concerns which they sent over Jewish people for labor there. Or they got, let's say, branches from Birkenau, which, let's say, ammunition factories or so. So they took out from Birkenau, they sent over people. But when I remained with my younger brother. The other members of the family were sent away from Birkenau.
And you really did not know what had happened to them?
No. At the beginning, no. But after the war, we found my wife's father and my brother, and I was survived with my younger brother.
Okay, we'll continue talking in just another minute. Jack Rozmaryn in Forest Hills, New York, on May 23rd, 1995. Let's continue talking about what it was like for you. You knew, you say, what had happened to other members of your family. You knew who had been sent away. You
Absolutely.
knew. Now, did you ever have any contact with the female members of the family?
I would say yes. From time to time, there was a possibility that men went over to repairmen to the women's concentration camp. Or let's say there were men, one is still alive, and he was in Forest Hills, he was cleaning the toilets. He came over with hostess to cleaning So we got chances from time to time to send over a little bit, small little letter back and forth.
But no one could go to see anyone.
Oh, so I
No.
went.
You did go.
I did go twice.
Tell us what
In the
that was
2
like.
years I was twice. You see, we delivered shoes for the ladies' concentration camp. I was working in the office. It happened that a fellow, which was a very close friend of the owner of our factory, was an SS man in Auschwitz. But he used to come to the factory while I still was in Belgium, and he knew me. And he knew Mrs. Rozmaryn. And he visited, one day he visited the tailor factory in the women's camp. And he recognized my wife. And he went over to her and asked her where I am. Because I helped him a lot being in Belgium. He took 2 tailors in the tailor factory and he worked for the German government, this German. And when I need yarn, I helped him out a lot from our factory. So he knew my wife, he knew myself. When he came in Auschwitz and he inspected the tailor factory in the women's concentration camp, he recognized my wife, so he asked me where I am. And I don't know if this was smart or not, but she told him that I am in the office in Birkenau. The next morning, by 9 o'clock, arrived maybe 3 autos with 4 or 5 SS people, and he was one of them. And he came to the office, and he told everybody to go out, and he was sitting and talking to me and asking me the family, I know from the family. And he told me if I want a better job for my wife. He was a chief of, let's say there was magazines, storages with plates, or I don't know what, some things which they need as people. And some Jewish people were working, the Jewish girls, so he wants to put her there. So I said, no, let her stay there. And so, then we have to deliver shoes, repaired shoes for the women. So every few weeks, our couple took 5 boys with a small wagon and put in the shoes, and they used them as horses. They schlepped the wagon shoes to the women. So one time he took me. He took me with a chance to see my wife. So then this is once I saw her, and then the second time they took me to check the books in the office of the women's concentration camps from the shoemakers. So when I was in the office, they brought it in. When I went, let's say we went 6 or 7 SS people took us, myself and the couple, and when we came over, they put in another 4 SS women, and then all of them were sitting in the office, and they brought. We took maybe 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's the one time I saw it.
Now, how many months was that after you had been
Probably say
taken?
a year later.
So you hadn't seen each other for a year?
And I saw her once. The whole time in Auschwitz, I saw her once.
Your work schedule, you said you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Was that 7 days a week?
No, we didn't work on Saturday, not on Sundays.
And what did you do on...
What Saturday, I don't remember exactly, but Sundays for sure not.
All right, now when you did not work, what did you do?
As I told you, I was sitting on our desk.
When you didn't work, you worked? No, on the days that you did not work, on the Sunday.
So we were lying on the preachers.
And that was it?
Oh, we went out to the toilet to make business, to sell a piece of blood washed for a piece of margarine.
So you were able to do that?
Yes.
All right.
Or
So
let's say we got sometimes cigarettes. Let's say for good work in the shoemaker, we got sometimes 20 cigarettes. So we sold the cigarettes for a piece of bread.
So you were able to trade?
We traded cigarettes for bread for cigarettes. Who changed the bread for cigarettes died next week because from starvation. So that was this.
All right. Now, during that...
I want to make one statement.
Yes, please.
The killing the Jewish people is a separate story. The killing Jewish children is a separate story. To killing women and old people is a separate story. To killing people, to gas people, and to put them into the crematorium is a story by itself. To putting people alive into graves, alive, dressed as they came, is a separate story. The way how, until they killed the Jewish people, even in Auschwitz and Birkenau, they're taking away the human, the human dignity from the human, until they are left to die. You see, until they got luck to die, that's the story. They killed rather 10 Jewish people instead to kill a Mauser. That's the story.
Well, let me ask you a question.
That's what bothers me is the killing, as I mentioned, is a separate story.
Yes, without any question. And I want to ask you something else you said. You went from day to day to day.
Yes.
Did you ever think about, will this ever end? How will it end? Will the war end? Will I ever be free?
I understand the question. Nobody in Auschwitz and Birkenau believed. I don't know what a very, very religious Orthodox got in his mind with God. But there was no chance to believe that we will ever survive.
Did you have any observation of any of the holidays? Did you know that it was Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach?
We knew when Yom Kippur was. To tell you the truth, when Yom Kippur was, there was the Sonderkommando. If you know what the Sonderkommando is. This is the people, they were active in putting the people into the gas chambers or to the crematoriums. They were separated in 2 blocks, which they were not permitted to go out and mingle between the other inmates. But they were rich in a way because they got a lot of diamonds of food, which they organized from the transports which they came. So they got connections with the SS people, which they watched them, you know. So they permit them, let's say, Yom Kippur, to make a minyan in their blocks. You couldn't hear the voices of praying in Yom Kippur.
You could hear it?
Yes.
And was there any participation?
No, there was, that somebody say, I'm going to Dharma, so...
Nobody did?
No.
Nobody
no
did.
such thing.
Did they continue to shave your head? Because your hair must have grown back.
Yes.
How often?
Every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks. So everyone had a shaved head
Shaved,
all the time. All right, now how long did this go on before it changed?
It never changed. What do you mean it changed?
No, I mean, something happened at some point where you moved. How long did you stay in Auschwitz?
No, that's what you mean.
In Birkenau.
I stayed in Auschwitz until they start to send away people from Auschwitz by knowing that the Russian army is occupying Poland already, is in the middle of Poland already. So they start to send away people to other camps inside Germany.
And when was this?
For example, they sent me away on the 24th of October, 44, I'm sorry.
So you had been in Auschwitz for...
From August the 1st till October 43 till October 44.
And what happened?
October 44, they took us to a train, to an open train, and it was in the winter. And
were you working? Were you asleep? How did it happen?
No, they took us to a train. We were 3 days in a train, in an open train. Who died.
No, I mean, they come in the morning and say, today you're not going to work, today you're going to a train?
Yes, no, so they said, this company should stay outside the street, and then they started to pick up so many people, and they took us again to a shower room. They undressed ourselves. We left. We should not be able to smuggle out something from Auschwitz, like there was enough diamonds and money in Auschwitz, because when you open a shoe or you open a suit here, you can find money, you know.
Really?
A lot. But they took everything away. But some people were able to hide and buy something from walkers. They came outside, they were not inmates, and they bought some bread or some food for the diamonds.
So people did find things.
If not, you could. If you were not able to find something, to organize something, you couldn't survive more than 3 months from the food. This was a law. 3 months you could survive with the food what they gave you. But if you could help yourself, like for example, I went every Sunday morning to the blocks, 2 blocks where people were mixed. There was not separate Jewish blocks.
In Birkenau?
In Birkenau, Catholics, Gypsies I would say no, Catholics, Jewish, French people, Belgian people, Netherlands people, Belgian people.
Did you know, could you tell who was Jewish and who was not?
Sure.
How?
Sure. First of all, how? Because, for example, when there was a selection every 6 weeks, for example, who was unable, was not suitable anyway to work. They undressed all the people. They took them to Gaza. So this was only Jewish people. There was only Jewish people. Untrained, that means only Jewish people must leave the block and go outside and stay in 5.
So the Jews were the only ones who were killed routinely?
Yes. The Jewish people were only killed. I mean, the Catholic people died.
I understand.
For example, they don't have any support from outside. They survived for 3-4 months and they died. But there was no selection or guessing. Only Jewish people.
I'll continue. So you said you were, the people had the things that they had secreted or saved when they got to the next place.
When they sent us out, so they took us also to the same barrack, under us about, leave everything, go into a shower room. From the shower, and they put you light into your mouth. If you have hidden some diamonds, light behind, and then you go out from another room. And then they send you. They brought you to the trains, and if you want to listen to a story, what happened to me?
Oh, no, yes, I do. But this all happened in Auschwitz before you left.
This is when we left.
When you left, okay, yes, and then.
And then, so as I told you, so they gave you the same dressing, like Purim. And at that time, it was in October, as I mentioned, October 44. It was already winter, and they gave me a pair of panties. This. And I heard somebody was calling Borinsky. And this is an interesting story. If I ever write a book, I will give the name a pair of underwear. Somebody was calling Borinsky. And I would say, clear enough that it meant me. Because nobody knew. I was working in Katowice in a firm, Borinsky. And the fellow who gave out the dressing for the people, he recognized me. And he started to yell Borinsky. Borinsky, so I went over and we recognized each other. He was a manufacturer from Warsaw, which delivered merchandise to us in Katowice. And he changed my ladies' panties to a pair of men's underwear for a giant fellow. So I was wearing the underwear. They came till here. And I tell you, if I survived only thanks this pair of underwear. Because winter in a wagon for 3 days, and going from Birkenau to Berlin is quite hard. So they took us then by train to Berlin. How many survived from the wagon, I cannot tell you. Then they took us to Henkelwerke. This was a factory of airplanes.
What were you wearing? Just the underwear?
No, I got the jackets too, but I don't know what kind of a jacket, I don't remember. That's it.
How many died in the wagon?
No, I would say 50% for sure.
Did you have any food?
They gave us 2 breads for the transportation time.
How many people were in the wagon? About?
90. 80, 90.
How long did it take from Auschwitz?
2.5 days. And we came to Henkelwerke for 8 days, to Oranienburg. To Oranienburg, this is also a concentration camp near Berlin for another 14 days. Then they took us to Dachau. In Dachau we were there. 10 days. And then from Dachau they sent us to a concentration camp, which was a branch from Dachau. They called it Koferink. There was 11 camps there. And I was in the camp number 11. And I was working there as a Schreiber in Koferink. And I was there from October from October 44 till April 24, 1945. When I was sitting in the office, there came a telephone to the assessment, to the commandant, and as I told you, I know German very well, so I overheard they told him that he should transport us, he should evacuate Kaufering and go to Innsbruck. And after the war, we find out what was Innsbruck. He told him that he should bring us, that we will go to Switzerland. He fooled him. And to Innsbruck. In the way Innsbruck, there was what should I say? In Innsbruck, they killed all the people which they came from all different camps. They killed all of them in Innsbruck. But our Jewish commandant with the German commandant made a deal. If he will...
When you say commandant, a capo?
The commandant was the head of the inmates, the Jewish head of the Jewish inmates, and the commandant, I said commandant, was the German assessment. He was a Dr. Fein from Hungary.
Was he chosen or by the Germans or by the Jews?
No,
How did he become a commandant?
They made him. The Germans made him. They picked him. So they made a deal between them that if he will try to save us, he will try to save him after, because we knew the American people is a matter of days.
You knew?
We knew, absolutely.
How did you know?
How we know? First of all, if I will tell you another story which you will not believe. I and a friend of mine, which is still here in America, bought a German paper every day from a German assessment for $10 a day.
Where?
A Völkische Beobachter. He bought us a German
In Birkenau?
In Birkenau. We got the money. He was working in the tailors, and my brother was working at the shoemaker. We got a lot of dollars, from the clothing what people were killed. So we gave him daily or twice, 2 days, $20, and he bought us a Völkische Beobachter, which was the most famous German Jewish paper.
But weren't you taking a terrible chance?
In Auschwitz, we took a lot of chances. We took in Auschwitz a lot of, whatever you did was a chance. If you organize a piece of bread more, there was a chance to get killed. What's the difference? What's the difference? In Auschwitz, there was no difference. Life was nothing. If somebody died, he was lucky.
So you knew what was going on?
Absolutely, we knew. I knew, if I will tell you a story, that I knew even the 20th of July, 1944, when they tried to kill Hitler, if you know the date, I knew maybe by 2 hours later. Because there was a lot of German people with us, real German people which were in the camp. They knew more. They spoke to the SS people. Even the inmates, they spoke between them, between the German SS people and the German inmates.
And you understood German?
What?
You understood German?
Yes, I work in the office. I must have understood German. If not, I wouldn't work in the office.
Now, what was it like working? Let's move ahead to the office in which you were working at this time, when towards the end of the war, before they moved to Innsbruck. You said you outsmarted them. What happened there with Dr. Fein?
No, I mean they made a deal between them. So instead to go in one direction in the way to Innsbruck, he walked with us all around the town, let's say 50 miles around, and then again. It took 2 days, and then we were liberated marching by the American army.
Before you tell us what happened there, what was your work like when you were a Schreiber there?
They're also the same. They have report how many is in this block, how many is in this block, or how many went to Mall factory, how many went to Holtzmann factory, how many people.
Did you volunteer as a Schreiber, or did they already know you were a Schreiber?
No, they knew. They forced me to do it. All the inmates forced me because they knew me that. No, I did a lot. I mean, if I will tell you what I did for Jewish people, you will not believe it. So it's no use.
Well, would you like to tell us?
I saved a lot, maybe 1,000 Jewish people.
How?
Unknown.
How?
For example, I will tell you how. There was a job which the Germans changed, like the Hudson River here. They changed the Weissel. This was a river. They want to change it to another direction. They took 1,500 people every 6 months to walk in the water by watching by German assessment with German dogs. In the 1,500 people, they survived for 6 weeks, the maximum. They took another 1,500 people. For example, before they brought the Hungarian people, they gave an order to increase the shoemakery and the tailory with another 400 people each, because they got more stuff. So when we became an order in the office to look for another 100 or 150 tailors or shoemakers, I, as a Jew, may say it because I prefer Jewish people to say it than Christian people, which they're not material for guess. So when I got this, I went to the block where those people were, the Weißel-Durchschnitt people were, and I told the Schreiber to give me out the Karteikarte, I mean the list of the inmates in his block, and I took out 40, 50 Jewish people from this block, 40, 50 from this block, and all I took them to this command where they're walking under a roof. They didn't walk outside to be hit and killed. And the other point is that our command didn't use up the soups what we gave because they got money which they found in the shoes, and they were able to organize and buy something better food from the Christian people. They came in and going out. So when they came in, they got already the food what they didn't need, the soups. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but didn't the Germans know that that money was found in the shoes and in the clothing?
Yes.
And didn't they want to take it?
Yes, they want to take it. They felt for example, when you go out every day from the shoemaker or the desk, they took 2 people to check you. But they found if you want to survive, they found a way. They put in into the mouth, or they put in behind there, or they put in a piece of bread inside it, piece of bread. So, I mean...
There were ways of secreting it.
There were ways and means how you want to be able to survive. If they caught you, there was bad luck.
Killed?
Killed or hanged.
Instantly.
Or 25, under 25 behind, or what kind of an assessment it was. You know, this. Sometimes you find a better assessment. You understand that?
Yes, I do. When you were on that last march before you were liberated, was your younger brother still with you?
Yes, all the time, from the day we came to the day we were liberated.
Tell us what happened when you were liberated.
When I was liberated, as I told you, I was liberated, let's say, on the 30th of April, in the night, the 30th of April. And we were still in a barrack in the middle of Germany, marching, but in the evening they put us in for the night in some place.
Even though you went around and around?
Around and around, but let's say around and around. So let's say like to go to Forest Hills, Kew Gardens, and a little further to Ballystream, and then from Ballystream all around some other small places, but he didn't took us to the direction to Innsbruck, you know. When we liberated, I can only tell you this was in the middle of the night. There came in 2 American officers. There was one of them was a chaplain, I believe. And they started to tell us that we are liberated.
Did you believe them?
Yes. Yes, because we knew. So already when we marched, we saw the German soldiers are going without hands, with left.
But they didn't try to kill you?
The Germans, no.
No.
You see, because we were under the SS supervision, they couldn't mingle in because they would kill each other.
Right,
you
so
see,
what happened?
The SS people were interested at that time to hold it, to stay longer, not to go to the Russian front. And so this is, they didn't SS in the Wehrmacht, the German army. It was a separate thing. I mean.
Now, who was it who told you that you were free, that you were
As
liberated?
I told you, American people.
Was it a particular person, or?
No, this was 2 American people. One was a chaplain,
chaplain.
and one was an American officer. I mean, the Germans ran away, let's say, half a day before.
Oh, they left.
They left. We were without any control, without any German security.
And you stayed where you were?
Yes. We knew that what goes on at the last days. For example, when the last day, there was the commander of Birkenau passed by near Dachau when we were marching, and with us were, I would say, 100 Russian people, or 140 Russian people, and he wants to take us over from our German commandant. He wants to take it over. So they agreed. He gave him the 140 Russian people to march with him. And
But kept you. I don't mean just you personally, but he kept the
no,
others.
He kept all the other part, which I was in. In the other part, we found 3 days later killed in the woods.
Why did he do that? You don't know.
If you want to start why, you must start why from the beginning.
Okay.
You
So it was
understand?
just fate?
If you ask why it happened in general, can you have an answer for it?
No.
Can you answer me why they killed 1.5 million Jewish people? Children, I'm talking. Is there an answer
So they
for it?
just took that 140 and they went.
Shut them out. Maybe they start to.
And so what
Run away
happened
from-
when the 2 Americans came?
So we were there. So I can tell you about myself. I got
Yes.
temperature. I got temperature. Maybe let's say I would call it 41. This like 104 or 103 for the whole day. And then we were alone by ourselves. And then when I remember, I went out a little further to the town. I saw American tanks. I asked an American soldier, which was a delicate saying, Afro-American, and I told him I'm hungry. He gave me a piece of bread, he gave me 2 cigarettes. And then what happened to me is a separate story, in reference to all the other.
Yes, well, this is your story.
This is my story, so I knew that I got once the passport from Paraguay, that I got a citizen from South America. So, and I decided,
Tell us about
I
that, please.
decided it's no use for me to stay in the camps and wait for what happened. I decided I was, let's say, 60 or 70 miles from Switzerland. I decided to go to Switzerland.
With your brother or by yourself?
With my brother, with 4 other people,
6 of you.
6 of us.
And you went to Switzerland.
So no,
How-
I started to walk to the border of Switzerland. So, and the next day, a German high officer stopped us and asked us where we are going. So I told him that I am an American citizen and I have my passport.
An American citizen?
I told him I'm an American citizen. So if I lied, I'm sorry. Because without
No, I
lying-
just wanted to be sure I
without
understood you.
lying, you wouldn't survive Auschwitz. So I told him I have a wife and a child in Switzerland and I want to go to Switzerland. So he told me, if you want to go to Switzerland, I have an advice for you. He said, the Swiss Secretary of State, I don't recall anymore the name. Yesterday I did, today I don't anymore. He said he is passing by this little town where a villa is there which belongs to Lady Pickard from America. He stays there. If you want to have it easy to go to Switzerland, why don't you go over there? So it was maybe 6 or 7 miles further, so we all of 6 went over and we start to go into, and we told him who we are. So we were the first numbers, Birkenau numbers survivors. So he took us in and we told him what's what, and I told him my story.
And we'll continue your story in just another minute. We're talking today with Mr. Jack Rozmaryn, and today is May 23rd, 1995. Let's continue the story. So you said that you were the first, I wanted to ask you something. You said you were the first survivors of Birkenau that they had seen. You considered yourselves survivors of Birkenau rather than any of the other places you had gone afterwards?
Absolutely, because Birkenau was the main concentration camp where I spent the most of the time. The other
Okay.
Sorry, so we started to ask
You got to the villa?
Yeah, to the villa, and they let us into, I don't remember the name anymore, to the Secretary of Swiss, Secretary of State.
They just invited you in.
Yes.
dressed in the
No,
same...
They told them who we are.
Yes.
First of all, the secretary...
And you were
reported
still
to them.
dressed in the clothes from...
No, we never, we were got dressed not with the stripes,
Oh, you had other clothes.
not normal clothes, but women's clothes, men's clothes. Anyway, so he asked us questions, and I told him that we are American citizens, that our papers are in Switzerland and so forth. And she said she will take us to Switzerland. We started to walk to Switzerland. So he didn't got the space to sleep overnight. So he took the chauffeur and told him to bring us to a camp, to a DP camp already at that time, to Felder.
The six of you.
The six of us to Felderfink. They reported to Felderfink to the officers. They have 6 American citizens, which they will bring us tomorrow to Switzerland. They gave us nice clothing in this camp. And the next morning, they picked us up there and they brought us to the Swiss border. When they brought us, the chauffeur brought us to the Swiss border. The border was closed. Absolutely no human being could pass the border. So we remained in this little town, Hochst, Hochts, for 3 days. For 3 days, this was under the French occupation.
Did you have food?
They brought us, this was under French occupation. I went over to the commander of the French occupation, and I told them we are 6 American citizens, and we are sent over here from the Swiss Secretary of State, and they brought us 6 big cases of food.
Cases?
Cases, big cases. We took out only the cigarettes, we took out the salami, and the rest we left. We were 3 days. After 3 days, we went again to the border. So the border was already open, but at the same time, a convoy of autos came through. This particular Secretary of State passed by to the border, and they stopped. There was a lot of people. There was slowly, I recognized him, and I went over. So he took us direct with him to Switzerland.
That was luck.
In Switzerland, they took us in St. Margarethen at the Swiss-German border for a quarantine for 3 weeks. At the 3 weeks, we also got food, ration food, only a piece of bread and so on.
The cigarettes you took to trade?
What you said?
When you took the cigarettes and the salami, that
No,
was...
this we used up in the 3 days.
In trading.
Gave it away. We got something with us.
But that's why you took the cigarettes?
Yes. And then, as I told you, it happened that my wife, being in Bergen-Belsen, being liquidated in Bergen-Belsen, being freed in Bergen-Belsen, she was working in a hospital.
But did you know what happened to her? Did you know?
No, I'm going to tell you what
yes.
happened. So she was in Bergen-Belsen working in a hospital with the sick people, and there were quite a few Swiss nurses, which they went over from the Swiss government to help out in the hospitals. One of the nurses which worked with Mrs. Rozmaryn, she got a telegram from her family that her father is very sick. So she said she's leaving tomorrow for Switzerland. We got some family in Switzerland, so but without addresses. So my wife gave her a letter to the Jewish organization in Zurich, in Switzerland. I came 2 days before to Switzerland, and in Switzerland they were announcing in the papers that 6 survivors from Auschwitz are in St. Margarethen. So the Jewish committee in Zurich got her letter from the nurse, and they got my name from the
Newspaper?
quarantine, from the newspaper. So they sent over the letter to me. At that time, I found out that she is alive. Now we were 3 weeks there, or 20 days, or 18 days, and then there was a Wahrheitshatzala, they call it, how we call it in English, a committee to help Jewish people, which they worked from Switzerland. They sent out the Paraguay papers from Switzerland to us. I don't know. Did I mention to you
No,
about this?
explain about the Paraguay papers, please.
You see, there was an organization in Switzerland which they helped they got only one way to try to help Jewish people in Europe, by sending out citizenship from other countries.
This is before the war, or during the war?
During the war. So, for example, if somebody got a citizenship from Paraguay, Uruguay, or other South American countries, which they worked it out with the consuls or embassies in Switzerland, for money or whatever, this I don't know, but they send out letters to the people that as of now you are a Paraguay citizen. And having these papers in the beginning, the Germans recognized this as foreigners, and they put them in special camps for people, for foreign people like English people or American people and so on. Later, the central governments like Paraguay, Uruguay, they did not agree with the way the embassies in Switzerland are helping people. So they communicate with the German government they should not recognize those citizens. Then the Germans took all those people and killed them, sent them to Auschwitz. But this was already before my papers arrived to the German government. When they arrived, they didn't bother anymore to put them in separate camps. So I didn't know that I have the papers, but I assume that they sent it out. Why? Because a member of Congress was a family of ours with the same name, Rozmaryn. And a member of Polish Sejm, which is the Senate in Poland, was one of the committee in Switzerland of the helping committee. When he saw my letter, a Rozmaryn letter, so he wanted to help us because this Rozmaryn in Senate was his friend. So he sent that. This is the reason I got the papers.
Had you applied for those papers originally?
I knew the organizations which they got contact with Switzerland to save some people to get those papers. They couldn't send away the letters to Switzerland. Only the owner of my factory did it for me, that he took them from me and he sent them away to Switzerland.
Just for you or for other members of your family?
No. All the people from the organizations gave me the letters and I gave them to the owner of my factory, which was a German, and he sent them away. So I knew what goes on. So I sent a letter by myself to the same organization in Switzerland, giving all the photos of my family, putting a letter that this is the birthday of my father, which got the birthday last week, so they got the dates also with the photos, and after they sent the papers to the German government. Didn't deliver them only because they didn't recognize them anymore. But I knew that I sent, but if I really got the papers, I didn't know. But to the American officer, what I told, I want to go to Switzerland, I told him that I do have the papers. But it happened that when I came to Switzerland, I went to the embassy, to the people which helped send out the papers, and they told me, your papers are in Bern, in the Paraguay embassy. So I went to the Paraguay embassy and I took out the copies of the papers, which I will show it to you later, with the photos of the family which I sent away. So I got photos of a part of the family, and I got copies of the passport.
Now, when you originally applied, did you apply just for yourself or for other members of the family as well?
I couldn't for the entire family, but the family was very big, it was 180, 100 people. I applied for my parents, I applied for myself and my wife, for my younger brother, for my younger sister, which was not married, and for 2 couples of my sisters.
Okay.
And all of them got the passport.
So when you got to Bern, you went to Paraguay, to the office?
To the embassy.
To the embassy?
Of Paris, and they gave me out the copies of the passport.
And then what did you do?
Nothing. I took them. What I couldn't do. I didn't go anymore to Paraguay. So I was in Switzerland, and then in Switzerland the English government gave quite an amount of certificates to go to Israel for young children, for survivors. So they got in Switzerland some, let's say, 80, 100, so they picked up 6 of us to include, and we went in June.
The group of 6?
No, but with other people from Switzerland.
No, but I mean the 6 of you stayed together.
Went to Israel. So I went to Israel in 1900. So now when I got the certificate to Israel, so I got a choice. Or should I go back to Germany where I got a letter my wife is survived, or should I go to Israel?
She was not yet your wife.
We were engaged.
Yes.
So I decided, even my wife is angry with me till now, I decided to go to Israel to see if it's worthwhile to remain a Jew or not.
That's really why you went?
Yes, to see if, no, because I was decided to hell with it. So I went to Israel. When I came to Israel, I found a letter from my wife to her uncle, which was a rabbi in Israel, her letter. So I took the envelope of the letter with the stamps from Germany, and I put another letter into the envelope. And I put in a letter that my wife wrote to his uncle that she is sick and she survived with her mother, and she is there and she needs help, and so on. So I took this letter with the envelope, and I went to Jerusalem to the English government, and I showed them that my wife survived, and this is a letter, an official letter which came to her uncle, and I want to go back to Germany to bring my wife to Israel. So as I recall, they told me, if you will show us marriage license, we will believe you that this is your wife, that what you are telling is true. So I told him, if you will be able to deliver me my parents and tell me where my parents are buried, or whatever, I will be able, I can only show you what I have. So they said, go to Germany, and we will send you out a certificate for your wife to Brussels. The day I left, when I went to the American, she was in Bergen-Belsen, which was under English occupation. And I went, and when I told him she's in Frankfurt. Lies, don't ask me questions. So but the day I left, I sent away a letter to the government in Israel that she left Bergen-Belsen and she is in Frankfurt am Main. So it happened they sent out, per mistake, a certificate to Frankfurt am Main, one for my wife and one to Belgium for the English zone. It happened that I came back to Israel with two wives. The Israeli consul gave me another girl because for them was a win to get one person more to Israel. So I brought two wives with the same name to Israel. So I went back to Israel.
Well, no, wait a minute. You left Israel, and you went.
I left Israel in December 45.
And you went to Germany.
And I couldn't go to Germany because I couldn't go to Germany. I was to Belgium.
You went to Belgium.
In Belgium, I couldn't go to the Germany because if I went for permission to go to Germany, if I went to the army, they said you are a civilian. You're not under jurisdiction. If I went to the embassy, to the English embassy, they said we cannot do nothing because Bergen-Belsen is occupied by the army. So they didn't want to help me. They didn't want to help me, but they said, because you mentioned your wife is sick, we are ready to give you an ambulance. We are ready to give you two nurses with a doctor to go to Bergen-Belsen and bring your wife to Belgium and go back to Israel. This I didn't want because my wife was in Belgium, in Bergen-Belsen with her parents. Her parents survived, and we didn't get a Jewish wedding. So I want to have the Jewish wedding. So I want to go only there. And I was not ready. So anyway, there was a Jewish army in the English army, which they were in Belgium, and they were a lot of times in Bergen-Belsen, and they were most of the time in my wife's parents' house. They knew them very well, and I told them who.
They had a house?
No, I mean in a block where they lived.
Were they in the barracks?
So when I went to them, and they traveled between Belgium and Bergen-Belsen back and forth. When they found out the story, they knew who I am, so they want to help me. So how they helped me, they gave me a uniform of an English officer. Yes, and they took me with them to Bergen-Belsen. So we took a train in Brussels, but they were not careful enough because an English soldier does not wear high boots. And I was in high boots, and they gave me a uniform from an English officer with a book that I am born in Safed in Israel, and that I know only Hebrew I knew, that I don't know no other language, only Hebrew. If somebody will ask me, I will need their translation. So they put me into a train, and I was with medals, with everything.
Alone?
No, with them.
With them, okay.
With them, they went with all the other English officers. We went from Brussels to Hanover, to the German town which is near Bergen-Belsen. When I came to the train, and I noticed that no English soldier wears high boots. I put my pants a little bit lower, and I covered it, and I was dreaming and sleeping the whole time, and it went through. When we came to Hanover, they stopped everybody. They wanted to control the soldiers before they're leaving them out of town, and I was from Auschwitz. So when he went in to look for a paper, I was out already. And so I came with a German uniform to Bergen-Belsen to my wife's family.
English uniform.
English.
And how long had it been since you had seen each other?
Now, as I say, from the middle of '44 till May, till December '45.
And what was that like? Did she know you were coming?
No, but I sent the letters from Israel, but she didn't want to answer. She was angry why I didn't go.
First,
knowing that she survived. Instead to go to Israel, I went. And my answer was, I got the chance, which was a 1 in a million, to get a certificate at that time. So I want to see what's what. So I decided, you survived, thanks God, I will be 3 months later.
And what was that like when you saw each other?
Do you know how a young couple meet each other? Should I describe you how I can?
And you saw your...
So, and then we got married there.
You saw your brother and
my
your sister-in-law?
And they survived. They survived 4 children. I mean, my wife's family was 8 children, all were killed. 4 survived with their parents, which was a unique in the entire Jewish population in Europe, that father and mother and 4 children should survive. So I met all of them when I came to Bergen-Belsen.
And you married?
I married on June the 6th, 1946.
There.
And
then, and what happened then?
And then we remained another few weeks maybe a few months in Germany, and then we went back. I took it back to Israel.
And how long did you stay there?
Going to Israel, I must tell you this story too. I need a visa, a French visa, to go through Marseille to go to Israel. And I need a French consulate. So I found out that in Düsseldorf they're opening a week later, that's in the beginning of '46, a consul. So I went over with my wife to Düsseldorf to this consul. This was the first day. He opened at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8:30 I was there, and I told him my story, that I have 2 certificates to Israel to go back, and I need a transit visa to Paris. So he started to laugh. He said, this is impossible. I cannot give out a visa without sending to Paris. And this will take 6 months or so. And talking again. So I said, Mr. Rozmaryn, even if I'm ready to give you, I don't have the stamp, and I don't have the paper, and I have nothing. So I told him, listen, my father was a businessman. And when he opened a new business, if a first customer came in, even he has to sell below the purchase price, he didn't let him out. Don't let me out, so you will be lucky. He took out a piece of paper, he took out a pen, and he made visa number 1, and in handwriting he gave me the visa, the French visa to go to France. He went to Paris, we stayed there a week or so, and we went to Israel back.
Why did you want to go to Paris?
We have to go through Paris,
in order to
go to Israel. We got a boat only for Marseille, which is a French town. So I have to go to Paris.
Now, you said you had a visa to bring 2 wives back.
Yeah, I came to Paris, so the other girl, the Israeli consul took another girl from Paris, because
So you really did, you were not joking, you really had,
No, yes.
So you came to Israel
To
with,
Israel with two girls. Now the girl was also under the same name than my wife. So
and what about her parents?
her parents, they remained in Bergen-Belsen.
Okay, and so what happened when you got to Israel?
When I got in Israel, I got a little bit problems with children. My wife gave birth to two children, which they were not, didn't survive. So I got a letter from a very big professor in Israel that I should see a professor in Paris. And then I got a similar letter I got from another hospital. So when the English left Israel over at the ports when they're ready to leave, I mean they were already take Jewish people to the army, to the Haganah, to the Jewish army. And I applied to the Haganah. This was the Jewish high command of the army. With all the letters, with all that happened, and I told them my wife is pregnant, and I don't want to take any more chances after losing the whole family. And so they gave me the permission to go to Israel. So they brought me with a tank to the airport. It was the last tank, the last airplane who left at that time before the 1948 war, and they brought us.
Your wife and you?
With me. They brought us to Czechoslovakia, and I got a letter from Czechoslovakia to the Council of Israel, not to the Council, to the Sochnut, they called it. They should try to bring us over to our parents to Bergen-Belsen, which they did.
So you went back to Bergen-Belsen?
Bergen-Belsen. This is the two photos what I showed you there. In Hebrew, this is the official permission from the Israeli government to leave.
Right. Now, you said the reason you went to Israel originally, when you were liberated, was to see whether or not you wanted to remain as a Jew.
Yes, I decided there still exists a Jewish nation.
You needed to see that for yourself.
In the beginning, they were so much disappointed right after the war that you may think, yes, if you should, you should not. But later, when you were in Israel between Jewish people and so on, then
you decided to stay. Right now, what about the rest of your family? Can you tell us who lived, who died, and how did you find
The rest of my family, there was only survived my wife's father, which died here in America, and my younger brother, which came with me to Israel, and from Switzerland.
So just the three of you?
Just the three of us. All the others were killed.
And you had how many siblings?
I got 4 sisters, let's say. I got until 5 were married with children. One got 8 children, got 2 children, 3 children, all of them were killed in Auschwitz. My 2 younger sisters were in Auschwitz in the concentration camp, and they took by a selection in January 21, 1944, with a selection, and they took 15 or 16,000 girls to gas. And the other one, the younger one, died on October 5, 1944. She died.
And your parents?
My parents were killed in the beginning by UNO.
How do you know the dates that your sisters were killed?
Because I was a Schreiber, and I knew when the selection was. When the selection was on the girls in the girls' camp, they took at that time 16,000 Jewish people. And between them, they took my sister, which was younger than I am, in 2 years. And I got protection in Auschwitz. And I was able to get her out from sending her the next day to the crematorium. And while they got her out, a day later, they checked her again, and she got temperature, and they took her again. So I knew what was going on. The other sister, as I told you, she was sick in Auschwitz, and I got letters from my wife sometimes back and forth, so I knew she was sick. It happened that a day before she died, I went with shoes, like I told you before, with shoes as a horse to schlep shoes to this. I was able, with my kaput, to go in to the block when where my younger sister was. She was already in coma.
So you never really saw each other again? No. And your brothers who died?
The one brother died, her father died here in 1971,
But the others, you were a big family.
Was killed in the week of from August 1st till August 10, 1900.
In the very beginning.
Yes, when they made Rozmaryn, our town.
So they were killed in the town before they went to Auschwitz?
No, they were
Or
killed
they
in
were killed
Auschwitz.
when
No,
they got to Auschwitz.
All of them got to Auschwitz.
So you and your younger brother were the only two?
Two and her father.
And her father.
Yes.
And then when you decided that you were going to remain as Jews, you went back to Bergen-Belsen. Can you pick up the story from there, please,
No, I went
with
back
your
to
wife?
Bergen-Belsen. I got married. And remained there quite a few, let's say, a year or so. In April 46, I went back with my wife to Israel, and I stayed in Israel till April 48, till
And no, but when you left Israel at that time, when you were concerned because the two children had died, and then you left Israel before the 48 war, you said you went back to Germany. Yes,
so
and
I
then?
was there in Germany. I went from one professor to another, and until they assured me there's nothing to do because we figured out because we are relatives near. So I went to a lot of professors there, and they treated me nice because I told them we are a couple from Jerusalem at that time. So they advised us that had nothing to do with it. I should wait a year or so, and then we gave birth to two other daughters, which they live here.
And how long did you stay in Europe before you came to America?
Till 1950, till October 1950.
And then you came
Came here to America.
What made you decide to do that?
What made me decide to do it is this, because I may decide if I survive Auschwitz, I don't want to get killed in another war. So I decided not to return to Israel.
And what about Germany?
No, I wouldn't do it. My wife would never give no money in the war.
So that's why you decided to
I
come to
decided
America.
it. No, I would never stay in Germany.
And who did you come to Israel with?
But
To America with?
to America we came all together. My wife's parents, my younger brother came a little bit later, and my wife's two sisters and a brother. All of us came together to America.
That's beautiful that you, that at least
We
that
came in one day, in the
that-
same day, October 1900.
that family group. Well, we'd like very much to see your family pictures, and we'd like to bring your wife in as part of this, and we'll continue doing that in just another minute.